Hey, 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 happy whatever day it is today, Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday. I'm here for you guys. Today I'm going to do a little a talk. Actually, all month I'm going to come in here on Wednesdays, and this month I'm kind of focusing on reviewing some of the popular diet methods. Okay, because a lot of people ask me these questions, and I want to really give you the information so you can make a good decision about how you proceed with your health and weight loss journey. Okay, so let me grab something from my printer. I was just printing out. So if you are jumping in here, watching me, StreamYard's not showing me that anyone's watching me. So I have no idea, but you guys like my new shirt? Lift more, age less. I love it. I'm preparing to lift today, something heavy. Anyway, it's part of my strength training. And I haven't yet got to my workout this morning. So anyway, say hello if you're watching. I have my phone on now so I can watch the comments on my phone. I can't watch them on here. I don't know how to turn the comments on here anymore. Facebook changed a bunch of stuff. So here we are, but I think I finally worked out how to get on the page easily. So here I am. All right, so today we're going to talk about intermittent fasting. I know a lot of you are going to watch the replay, so if you do watch the replay, put hashtag replay. I'd like to know who's here. I'd love to know what you got from the information. If you take the time to watch it, I'm going to try to keep it 30 minutes today. Actually, some days I like to keep it a little shorter even. So if I can do it in that time, I just want to give you some highlights, some kind of do's and don'ts, some things to watch out for if you're considering intermittent fasting. So if I had people watching live, I would say raise your hand if you've tried intermittent fasting, if you've heard of it. I know a lot of you have heard of it because a lot of you have asked me questions about it. So that's why I decided I'm going to do some lives on this topic because we need it. So if you don't know what intermittent fasting is, it is an eating style. It's otherwise known as time-restricted eating. Time-restricted eating. So it just kind of guides you as when to eat your meal. So your eating can take place in a time frame. Like you could be fasting for 16 hours and eat only in 8 hours. That's kind of one of the most popular schedules that people follow. That means you would maybe have your breakfast around 10 a.m. and you would have your dinner at 6 p.m. And then you would fast for the rest of the time, meaning no food. So what are the benefits of this? Why is this gaining so much popularity? Why are women especially drawn towards intermittent fasting as a weight loss tool? So first of all, you guys, a lot of the studies, so you know that I'm big into the science behind things and the studies behind it. A lot of the studies about intermittent fasting and the effects of it have been done mostly on men, not on women. And as women, we have different metabolic needs, as you know. So we want to, it says I've been alive 11 minutes. Oh, I had this on here early, so I've really only been live for 5 minutes. So anyway, some of the benefits that they've found, mostly studied on men, are improved mood and memory because of a promotion of a particular protein that helps our brain health. Okay, so maybe good for our brain and for improving our mood and our memory. That's good. Has been shown to reduce inflammation. That's good. Has been shown to have some anti-aging effects. This is done through the cellular repair that happens when you fast, but you have to fast for longer than 16 or 17 hours to get the benefit of that. That's called autophagy. And there's a lot of new research going on in this area. So there's just more research that's needed, but I wanted to give you some, background on it. It can improve your insulin sensitivity and weight control. That's good because a lot of us are insulin sensitive. So that means our hormone response isn't working as well as it used to. When we eat, the way we break down our food, insulin is our fat storing hormone. And so therefore we are storing fat more. And we don't like the fat, right? We want to get rid of the fat. It can improve blood cholesterol and ADL, HDL ratios. That's good because that's also something that as women, as we age and go through hormonal changes, these things occur. Just to see who's watching. And then it has the potential to reduce the risk for cancer. Yay, all good. Here's what I want to say. The same benefits can happen, minus the autophagy one, the same benefits can happen following an anti-inflammatory dietary lifestyle, which is what I teach. Anti-inflammatory dietary lifestyle. There can be some benefits to putting that with fasting. There can be some benefits to putting anything with fasting, but just so you know, what I like to tell people, and I was going to do this in conclusion, but what I like to say to people is, if you haven't yet been consistent, if your weight loss efforts have got you stuck, but you haven't been consistent with following an anti-inflammatory type of diet, like a Mediterranean diet, or just anti-inflammatory, getting rid of sugar and processed food, that's an anti-inflammatory diet, eating real whole food, and you haven't been consistent with the right kind of exercise, which is what I teach in my 12-week menopause makeover program, then you don't just resort to fasting, because if you don't know how to eat within your eating window, it's not going to do you that much good. Okay. So, and it's not a lifestyle that's easily, sorry, I got distracted by some lights outside, easily maintained. And that's one of the things that I think is a downfall about the intermittent fasting diet, is that it can be difficult to maintain. Okay. So, you've got to be kind of strict with it. So anyway, a couple of things. So what fasting does is the body goes from a digestive state to one of repair and rejuvenation. We know that to be true. During the fasting phase, your insulin will drop in response to a decrease in blood sugar, which in turn allows the body to utilize the stored energy, including fat, especially belly fat, right? The metabolic shift turns on autophagy, okay, or cellular regeneration. So it's a promising thing for us. Our bodies naturally rejuvenate anyway while we sleep. So, it's still questionable how much of this is really beneficial, but it appears that some type of time-restricted eating could be beneficial for a lot of women who are trying to lose weight. So in addition, your hormones, such as the human growth hormone, increases, which helps preserve our muscle and bone tissue. Yay! So that lifting that we're doing, lift more, age less, that lifting that we're doing will be benefited by this process of fasting, which allows our human growth hormone, HGH, to increase and preserve the muscle. Because while we're fighting belly fat, trying to move the fat, we're trying to restore, regain our muscle. The muscles has started to deteriorate. So fasting is a stressor on the body, similar to how exercise is a stressor. Therefore, such a thing can be too much. But when it's done correctly, fasting leads to improved resiliency. So there's a thing called metabolic switching. I know this is so scientific, and I don't usually go so deep, but I know there's some of you in here who want to know more about this. So the metabolic switching is like keeping your metabolism guessing. Okay, so that what happens is over time, I've talked about this in some of my other lives, if we restrict calories, let's say follow a 1,200 calorie diet, which is really low for really anyone, especially menopausal women, it's pretty low. It's hard to get your protein in that. It's hard to get your nutrients in that. If you're following that, your body will eventually reset itself, your metabolism, so that after a while you're not effective anymore at weight loss. This is what causes plateaus in weight loss. Years ago, when I was working in the clinical setting and I was working with patients in hospitals, some of the doctors would put some of our overweight patients, obese patients, on 1,000-calorie diets. Well, guess what would happen? They would just slow down. Their metabolism would slow down and become less effective, and their body would store more fat. They never worked. And we knew it. We knew it then. Doctors didn't know it, but we knew it as dietitians, and we would always work with the doctor. Wait, we need to work with this patient on fueling their body correctly rather than restricting calories. So that's why I'm so against calorie restricted diets in general. All right, so when you abuse that fasting stuff and your metabolism, it can really work against you. So although the benefits are really great, there are a few things that you want to watch out for, especially if you're just getting started with some kind of intermittent fasting, and that's increase your fasting window slowly. I'm going to repeat that. If you're going to fast, increase your fasting window slowly. So if you've never fasted before, then don't jump into a 16-8 kind of schedule. Start with 12 hours, which is pretty typical, and really where I find a lot of postmenopausal women shouldn't be putting the stress on their bodies of intermittent fasting up to 16 or 17 hours, unless they're used to it. Some of you said, I put a post on my, I think it was on my public wall, asking about your experience with intermittent fasting. If you go too fast, too hard, or you're not used to it, it's just going to backfire on you. So your body needs to kind of train for it, is what I'm saying. So you could experience headaches, lethargy, lack of energy, real fatigue, irritability, anxiety, constipation, sleep problems. So if you work your way into it, you're better off. Okay, you work your way into it, but start with 12 hours. 12 or 13 hours is kind of a sweet spot for women who are postmenopause, who have not trained themselves to fast. Okay, so and if you have any kind of medical complications, if you're taking medications, all these things can be affected by the fasting. So always check with your doctor for sure before you do any kind of fasting. So again, the 12-12 is a great place to start. An example of that would be like having your breakfast around 7 in the morning and having your dinner at 7 at night. It's also an easy schedule to remember. So I often do 13 or 14 hours of fasting just naturally. Like I don't have breakfast until 9 or 10. I have dinner at 7 or 8. So, but I'm used to that, and I kind of trained myself for that. I used to wake up hungry. If you wake up hungry, just see if there's anyone in the group. It's hard for me to see. If you wake up hungry, you're probably having some blood sugar unstable. Okay, you're having unstable blood sugars. It also can be affected by what you ate the night before, and a lot of those symptoms, the hunger cues, will go away when you start getting off of the sugar. So anyway, that's a definite pro to the 12-12 is it's easy to get started. You won't have those side effects. There are no benefits without, there are benefits without the risk. And the only bad part about that is you can't really get into autophagy with 12 hours, and it may not improve your metabolic flexibility, which is what I was talking about, as much as with a longer fast. So again, those of you who know me know that I teach lifestyle. So if you can't live with it, if it's not going to work into your lifestyle, then it's going to be difficult to maintain. So therefore, you're in this mentality of, I'm on this diet and I'll stop this time. So anyway, I don't know what I just did there. All right. So if you're going to do any kind of intermittent fasting, you want to be cautious also about how you break your fast. So your breakfast, which that word comes from break fast, needs to be a high protein meal. You can't just fast and then break your fast with whatever you want. If you're eating junk food and carbs, simple carbs like sugars and processed foods, then it's going to counteract what you're trying to do with the fasting. So don't bother. Simply don't bother. Start by getting all those things out of your diet. So here's where people go wrong in their mind. They see, because people are talking about it online, oh, people are losing weight on intermittent fasting, especially good for menopausal women. You guys, I'm in lots of Facebook groups with menopausal women, and a lot of women think this is the way to go. And so they jump in, and then they're learning how to eat correctly in their eating window. So they're not getting the results, and they're causing some metabolic issues. So I don't want that to happen to any of you. So that's why I'm in here serving you. Hydration is also super important. Plain water is best to have while you're fasting. Black coffee is also okay, but because of that anxiety stuff, and if you're feeling icky, then coffee can make it worse. So you might switch to decaf, and also you have to avoid artificial sweeteners, creamers, or flavorings in your water or coffee while fasting. For women who are still menstruating and in maybe that early perimenopause phase where you're still getting a period, but you're not in menopause yet. Menopause is just a moment. It's really not years. A lot of people mix this up. It's really perimenopause, which can start up to 10 years before you hit menopause. Menopause is just that moment in time where it's been 1 year since your last cycle. That's it. So that when that 1 year time rolls around, and you haven't had you haven't had a cycle in those 12 months, then you're officially menopause. And the next day you're postmenopause. So that's how it works. So anyway, if you're still menstruating, it's important to adjust the fasting window during certain times of the month. And the best resource for that is Dr. Mindy Pelz. She has a Facebook group, Fast Like a Girl. This is her book. She has a couple books, but this is the one that tells you how to do that. Of course, I can also coach you through that if you want to do some private coaching with me on how to get through the fasting if you're still having a cycle. So some things to keep in mind, and then I'll try to wrap it up, is always break your fast with a meal high in protein and healthy fats. We need to be eating a meal like that anyway, right? Limit or avoid caffeine if you feel at all anxious or jittery. Drink water while fasting. Gradually increase your fasting window. Listen to your body if you're lightheaded or anything like that. Shorten your fasting window. And a lot of women also get confused. I was for a while about when to exercise, how to exercise. Do low to moderate intensity workouts in a fasted state, not high intensity or endurance training or really heavy lifting, although that's still questionable, is best, not best while fasting. All right. So I hope that was helpful. That's all I got for you today. For those of you who might be watching the replay, I am currently opening some more slots for my Menopause Makeover program. So if you think you need some support, most of us do, some help with getting your diet just right for you and your lifestyle, then drop me a message and I will reach out to you. We'll get on a call and just talk about where you're at and what you need. And I'm here to serve and support you. So God bless you and have a wonderful afternoon. And we'll see you next week. If you have any special diets, like sometimes someone will ask me about something I haven't heard of before. So just drop them in the group. I'll be happy to address them in my next live. But if I don't hear from you, I'm going to talk about the ketogenic diet next week, because that's another one that trips people up a lot. Okay, talk soon.